this plan that we put together is multi-generational living at its best. And that's really what my whole plan was, that symbolizes love and
Yes.
symbolizes the family as a whole, that we take care of each other and we look out for each other and we tell each other the hard truth sometimes too, right? I always wanted to make things as easy and effortless for people, that we all have our own space, but we all are a family together. And that to me was really important. So yes, there are some trials and tribulations. It took some, personality adjustments and things for us all to figure it out.
What if the best chapter of your life hasn't even begun yet? What lies within you is the power to live brighter, bolder, and truer than ever before. So welcome to Vivatude, where caregiving, connections, and career come into balance, and where your vitality, vision, and voice shines through. Because the revolution isn't out there, it's already within you. Welcome to Vivatude.
Welcome back to Vivatude. This is Kate Phillips and my guest, Lisa Brumm of My Financial Girlfriend. And since a lot of our listeners are people, are women who are doing some kind of caregiving in their lives, maybe they're living with their loved ones, maybe they're just looking after some loved ones who are aging, I wanted to ask you about adventures in caregiving. That you've got your father quite close by, I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah. Well, yes, my father, who is undisclosed aged, but he's lied about his age all his life, because he ran away from home to join the Navy, and then we
Mm,
believe it was at age 14. So,
wow.
but then he married, my mom was 10 years older, or maybe 9 years older than my dad. So it's always been a guessing game, but he swears to God that his birth date was 1938, and he's 88 years old. Anyway, I believe he's older. So there's that. And we talk about it quite a bit. But yes, so it was right at the beginning of 2021, I believe, because he had retired. He was a retiree 6 times over from the Port of
Mm,
Portland. He was an electrician, and then his latter years was working at the Port of Portland as an electrical inspector, driving around in the truck as they were building out all the new terminals. And so,
mhm.
and he was making great money, had a great career. He enjoyed his life. Like, I could tell that he the pinnacle of being the supervisor on the job, that he gets to tell people what to do and drive around in a white truck, right? So he retired about at least 6 times, but he retired and then he came back as a subcontractor so that he didn't interfere within his pension and all that stuff. But he still got made really good money. So after he retired, and during that period, he sold. I told him if he wanted to get the Oregon PERS going, that he should sell the house in Oregon and buy a house in Washington. It would save him 10% on state income, because Washington is a non-income state place.
Yes.
So he did, and that saved him money right from the top of the right at the top. And then he lived there for 10 years, 12 years maybe, and he was Uber driving. And
Yes.
he loves to drive. He's always loved to drive. And so
He was pretty close to the airport, right? And for people who
yes,
don't
and
understand, when you
yes,
say
he'd
moving
we'd
from
come over for
Oregon,
dinner on a Sunday night or something and say, I took a ride from Port of Portland last night, and we drove all the way to Walla Walla, and I made $400. And I'm like, Dad. And he was always going for the spiffs, whatever he could do. Like, that was his driving force. Is like, I gotta get, 8 more rides and then I get a bonus. And he was always talking about how to play the game, right? But
mhm,
he was making serious money. Like, it was over 100,000 in the latter years. And
incredible.
then I'm like, Dad, you're you're paying taxes on your Social Security. Like, what the hell are you doing? Because he wasn't talking to me about his money, but he told me at a softball game once. My daughter was pitching, And he said something like, yeah, I got to pay blah, blah, blah on taxes. And I'm like, that means you're paying on your Social Security taxes as well. I go, okay, wait a minute. You're self-employed. You could put 20 some thousand dollars into a SEP plan and reduce your taxable income. He goes, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll do that next year. I'm like, okay. So there's my dad. And so the big talk, we were 1 year into yeah, basically it was March of 21 that he had told me he was selling his house,
Hmm.
but he never really told, again, he's independent and he was just on his own, and he was thriving. I mean, there was no reason for anything for me to think or question any of it. And he knocked on my door at 9 a.m. on one morning, and I go to the door and I'm like, good morning. It's kind of early. He goes, yeah, may I use your restroom? And he'd do that occasionally just because he was in the neighborhood or something. I said, yes, of course, come in, whatever. And let me make some coffee. We get to talking. I go, didn't you sign your house over like last week? Didn't you follow, I go, when do you have to move out? He goes, oh, I already moved out. All my stuff is in the trunk of the car. I go, where did you sleep last night? And he goes, in my car. And I'm like, Dad, go, I go, no. I go, you didn't even think about getting an apartment during this whole time. Like it was like, where is
Mm,
this man's brain? I'm like, you can't live in your
yes.
car. So I just
Some
realized,
of the
and I
dots are not quite connecting.
okay, Dad, I talked to Bill and my husband and my mother-in-law who also lives with us, and okay guys, we got a situation. What are we gonna do? And we had an extra bedroom, and there's a little kitchenette downstairs. So he moved in and he's been with us for now what, coming up on 5 years, 5 or 6 years. So and he's the perfect roommate. I mean, he does. He's independent. He takes care of all his own needs. He'll ask occasionally for, oh, and he stopped driving because he did have an accident, and the accident that we knew about, let's put it that way. So anyway, he tells
Oh,
us one afternoon that he's gonna turn his car back over. He wants to give his car to me. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I go, what's going on? He goes, well, my insurance is going to go up $9,000 because of my 5 accidents and 3 speeding tickets. I went, yeah,
oh,
it's probably time, Dad. You're probably making a really wise choice. And so we drive him wherever he needs, or he knows obviously how to use the Uber app. So when he wants to go somewhere, he's off and doing things for himself. But yeah, that's
I hope
kind
he
of
wasn't having, I hope he wasn't having the accidents when he was Uber driving.
the last one was, so that's kind of was
Okay.
the
Yeah.
spinning moment of his life going, yeah, because I mean, thank God he was not hurting himself or others, but it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Capabilities change.
totally. And that's one thing that thankfully, it was those kinds of questions I know that we struggle with. Like, how do we tell our parents that it's time to not drive, or time to not, maybe you can't feed yourself and bathe yourself, then maybe you need to have some more assistance. So, we've had some really open dialogue. One thing I love about my dad is that he has a very practical sense. I know I never have to say do it. I just say, how do you
Hmm.
feel about this? How do you feel about that? And he'll talk about it, and I don't want to be a burden to anyone. I want to make sure that you guys aren't, feel like you have to do things for. I'm like, no, Dad, we want you to have your sense of independence. We want you to feel welcome, and you are part of our family, and there's no strain. It's all good. So yeah, so he's a character, but he's a lovable character.
And I also caught that you live with your mother-in-law. So you and your
So
husband, you each have a parent that are with you
they're
now.
roommates together downstairs in our house. But and the interesting thing is that we bought that, so my it kind of goes back, but again, it was part of an estate. My brain was thinking, how are we going to make all this work? And I grew up with my mother's mom. My grandmother lived either on the same street or next door eventually lived with us. And my mom was second oldest to 13. So every Sunday was potluck hell because everybody bring the kids and the dogs and the babies and the teenagers, and the entire yard and the backyard was just filled with adults and kids and dogs and food. And so to me like I've always wanted a home where my kids could bring their friends and we could just hang out, and you have different places you can hang out and nobody had to interfere with each other. So as we were a growing family, and we had lost my father-in-law, and my mom had passed when my daughter was just a year old. So I'm like, okay, so what do we do here? Like Bill and I were looking for a place to grow into, but also, retire into, but also, what happens if we have parents that need help to live someplace, right? And so with my mother-in-law, she'd lost her husband, my father-in-law, and she wanted to like, she loved to travel. And her other son lives in the East Coast. So it's like I said to Bill, I go, what if there's a place that your mom can always have as a home, and she has her own stuff and her own living room set up and her bedroom and whatever, and then she just uses this as the hub, but she could be at the coast, she could be at a friend's house, that she could live in the East Coast for 3 or 4 months. She could, with those grandkids, she could just hobbob and go wherever she wanted to, and she didn't have any debt. She was completely debt free. How does
I
that sound
love
to
that.
you?
I
And
love
so
that
we
so
created
much.
a way that we could own a home. To all three of us own the current home. It took a
Mhm.
minute or two for us to jingle all of this stuff
Mm.
because our house didn't sell right away, but we all made it all work. And now she doesn't have, she has her pension, her Social Security. She doesn't have, for, just whatever her needs are, she pays for herself, but we all own this home together, and she has the ability to just be footloose and fancy free. And so when my dad came into the picture, it was like, yeah, she goes, yeah, I'm only downstairs. I only live, I'm only really at the house maybe 2 months out of the year here and there. And so she does live on the coastline with a family home that we all own together as well. So it just made it so that easy. I always wanted to make things as easy and effortless for people, that we all have our own space, but we all are a family together. And that to me was really important. So yes, there are some trials and tribulations. It took some, personality adjustments and things for us all to figure it out. But yeah, I feel that putting this plan that we put together is multi-generational living at its best. And that's really what my whole plan was, that symbolizes love, and
Yes.
symbolizes the family as a whole, that we take care of each other and we look out for each other, and we tell each other the hard truth sometimes too, right?
And it also just exemplifies your whole approach to finances is set, using creativity and bringing in our values. And so you've got love, you've got creativity, you've got a larger home, but you've got more people contributing to it, and you can look out for each other. And it's not, we live in a society where so many people, I know one of the biggest challenges people have in their, elderly years sometimes is loneliness.
Yes, yes.
And so I just love how you have put that all together. It's beautiful. We are going to come back in just a moment with our final segment with Lisa, and I'm going to ask her some of her favorite financial hacks. You don't want to miss this. Here at Vivatude, we're all about the 8 principles of wellness and how to thrive even in the middle of our challenges. So if you are a listener here and you have not yet subscribed, please do so. I'm one of 4 amazing co-hosts here at Vivatude, helping you thrive, and we will be right back.
And thanks for listening to Vivatude. 4 hosts, 1 each week. We help you revivitude your next chapter, because purpose, passion, and prosperity isn't out there. They're already within you. Brighter, bolder, truer. Vivatude.